It's Erica with Wish You Were Here. And today I want to try something a little bit different. So I'm actually bringing in my cohort and my partner in life, my husband Chris. And he's not going to be in every video, but he's going to come and join me once in a while to give a little bit of extra perspective or a little back and forth. So you can see him sometimes, but I'm really glad he's joining. I'm really glad he's joining me today because we have a really good one today, and it's going to be very poignant right now because in less than a week, we're going to smell the fog from Halloween Horror Nights, the nation's premier horror and haunt event. So here in Orlando is the one that we tend to go to, and it's going to be starting really soon, and we are really, really pumped for it. It's our favorite time.
Oh, it is exciting. Like, we were hooked day number one, and we were like, we have to do this every year. And now yes. We go a bunch.
A lot. So
especially now that we live here.
Now that we live here, we go quite a bit. So what we are going to do today is, now that things are rolling and we are so close and we know what all of the houses are, we are going to give a breakdown of what all these houses are. So there are 10 houses, and we're going to kind of share that a little bit, if that's okay with you.
Yep.
And what we're going to do is share what those houses look like, and then stick around because we're going to give our hype lists, our own personal ones. We have 2 separate ones, by the way. So stick around for that, but stick around so you can kind of learn some about the houses and you know kind of what's coming to the event. So
yeah, a little bit of that perspective you talked about, because not only what we kind of know, but what we're kind of imagining and how we see these houses coming to life in the way that Universal Creative can do.
Yeah, we're just going to give you a little blurb first. We're not going to give you the full thing that Universal and Halloween Horror Nights have put out there. But we'll give you a little bit of our own breakdown and how we understand it as well. So are you about ready to hop in?
I am. I'm excited to be here, excited to join, and I'm excited for Halloween Horror Nights.
Me
so
too.
let's go. Let's do this.
Okay, wishers, here we go. Chris, what have you got?
All right.
Why don't you start us out?
We're going to start out with the 4 IPs. IP stands for intellectual property. Essentially what those houses are houses or mazes, depending on where you're at, that are based on horror movies, TV shows, and they work with the creators of those shows and movies to bring them to life. You know, what you're going to find is if you have seen any of these properties, any of these movies, scenes from those movies, characters from those movies, that's what you're going to find inside of these haunted houses. And so we're going to dig into the first 4 houses of Halloween Horror Nights, and they are all those IPs. And the very first IP we're going to talk about is A Quiet Place.
Shh. Oh. Okay.
A Quiet Place.
Okay, go.
Okay, A Quiet Place. Silence is survival. Make a sound and you won't last long. Monstrous creatures will hunt you down as the world of the first 2 films comes to terrifying life. So they're writing their own description that comes to Universal. We know that this house is going to be based on the first 2 Quiet Place films that came out on it. As I said with these IPs, what you're going to find in this haunted house is iconic scenes, locations, and of course, the monsters that are found in A Quiet Place. This house, though, is going to be incredibly unique. In fact, Universal themselves has said this is kind of an experiment. I mean, if you stop and think about it, when you go through haunted houses, what are they not? Quiet, right? People are screaming. There's all kinds. I mean, even in the houses, they're slamming things, all of it to get you the jumps, the scares. I know that when we go through houses together, quiet's going to be a challenge for you.
Definitely for me.
Sure. There's no doubt about that one there. But they're telling you almost like you get to have your own kind of experience. Like if you go through the house quiet, it might be one experience. If you're loud, you kind of picture that if you're going through the haunted house and you let out a scream, the monsters are going to come, right? But I'm not sure how that's going to play out. You know, is it going to be one of those things that as your groups are going through that maybe you go around a corner and there's a sound like a baby crying, and that'll cause the creatures to come out at you. I don't know. Universal did say that one of the unique features about this is it's going to be the first house that incorporates sign language.
Yes.
So that's really, really cool, I think. Universal takes seriously that idea of representation matters.
Yes.
So this house is going to be so intriguing. Like everyone that I've talked to, that you've talked to, we all say the same thing. I don't know what to expect, but I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm actually really interested to see how this goes. We listened to the Universal podcast that had the creative Charles Gray on it. He seemed very excited about this experiment that they were getting into because even they don't know what this looks like. But he says the house looks incredible, which I truly, truly believe that.
Oh, it's always incredible with Universal Creative.
Yes, and if he is the one behind the sets, it's going to be big and large and wonderful. That's where his brain goes. I just don't know how I'm going to be because you're right. I hope I don't get us killed. That's where I'm at in this house. So, because if something comes out, I don't necessarily scream. I let out ungodly noises and I talk very loudly to I don't touch anybody, but so I'm gonna do my very best to keep as quiet as possible, and we're gonna see how it goes that first night that we go through, and it's gonna be very interesting to see what it's like with conga lined through a group of people. So
Should be good. Should be good. All right, what we got next?
Next up, we have Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. He'll chill you to the bone. An ancient artifact has released a chilling new entity, Graka. He'll stop you cold. Only the Ghostbusters can keep you from getting iced.
Did the temperature drop just talking about the house?
I think it did, just a little bit.
Not just me. Maybe the air conditioner kicked on. I don't know.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. So, especially in Florida in August. So, right along those lines, so we're bringing Ghostbusters in, which is such a popular franchise anyway. There is such nostalgia in that. And this movie released this past spring. And so it was not really a surprise for us that it was coming. We kind of had an idea and rumors were out there, but for a lot of different reasons. And it's going to be very interesting to see how they work this one because this is going to have the kids in it. And it's going to be everything from the second movie, probably some from the first movie. And we could probably expect the original Ghostbusters to be in there as they continue on in this franchise too. So that's going to get us in the feels really big. But with it being Frozen Empire, in the Florida heat, all through August, September into October, just know it's hot. It's very hot. There's a lot of glistening, sparkling, sweating going on. So, especially when you're standing in those lines, and this one could be a very long line. It's going to be pretty popular, I would imagine. But I would expect once things really freeze in the house, Halloween Horror Nights and their creatives are so good about bringing in the senses and really immersing you. And I would expect that the temperature will drop, that the AC will be turned up nice and high, so we're going to be nice and cold in there. Now, I don't know how it'll be when we exit the house. It'll be instant sweat, but I would imagine that we are going to get a really good chill inside that house, if nothing else, along with some of that nostalgia that's going on.
Yeah, I don't know if they can get it that cold. I would love to be able to go through where you could see your breath. Like, that'd be so perfect for something called Frozen Empire.
Listen.
But, like, in the Florida heat, like, I don't know that the air conditioner can do it that well, but it should be cold. If it's not cold in there, I'm going to be really disappointed. Absolutely.
Agreed.
But it'll be beautiful, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do we got next?
All right, our third IP, and now we start getting really dark. Our third IP is Insidious the Further. It's not the house that haunted, you are. Enter the Further as demons try to ensnare you. The red-faced demon will lure you into his lair. Keyface will unlock your fears, and more. So now we move into a Blumhouse property, which
It's a Blumhouse
is
property.
very big at the event this year.
Yes.
And it's based on the Insidious movies, plural. We know there's been an Insidious house before at Halloween Horror Nights, but this year they're kind of combining all of it. The whole series. They're going to be having different locations, characters. You heard about the red-faced demon. You got Keyface. Yeah. A number of others that are from that movie series, those locations coming up.
Bride in Black will be in there.
The Bride in Black is another great one that's going to be in it. This is one of those houses that when you start thinking about horror and horror films, Insidious fits that. You know, where you have Frozen Empire's kind of fun, very family-friendly idea behind it. A Quiet Place is unique. Insidious, oh no, this one's going to be dark. And this is the one, I think, of the IPs that has the most potential to really be scary. Like, you know, the way we go through the houses usually, this is one where I fully expect you will have a handful of my t-shirt and your face will be in the middle of my back.
That's not wrong.
That's how this house is going to be. It's going to have some great, great scares, and I think it might be one of the, if not the scariest house of the event this year. So certainly looking forward to it. If you've seen those movies, it's going to bring that to life as all of these IPs do. But yeah, Insidious, just kind of knowing the vibe that they're going for with that, the little trailer they released to announce the video. Oh, so good. Lots of excitement around that. So yeah, if you like horror, this is going to be the house for you.
I agree. From what we've heard too, they've already started some unmasking the horror tours, which is a behind the scenes that happens through the day tours. So they started those early. We had some friends go through and we told them, do not give us spoilers. No. We don't want anything spoiled. We're going to be very careful around social media once a couple of events. So once the team members get their previews and there's the premium screen night that's coming, we're going to try to stay clear of some things. But we told our friends, no spoilers from your unmasking. But they did tell us that in Insidious, it's going to get dark. So, and I believe that. So just note that, and we know we're going to see the red door as well. So, which absolutely. Was the trailer of the announcement of the house was spectacularly creepy. It really was. Yeah. So I think we can definitely get a lot of that. We're going to sense that in this house. So it's going to be dark, and it's probably going to be scary. And I apologize to your t-shirts.
It's all good because that means I'm going to have a great time in that house. So, all right, we got one more IP. Why don't you tell us about it?
Why don't we get there? Next up, we have the IP that belongs to Universal. That is the beloved Universal Monsters, Eternal Bloodlines. According to Universal, all female, all fearless, all fatal, get caught in an epic battle as Saskia Van Helsing and the Bride of Frankenstein go up against Dracula's daughter and her monstrous mavens. You guys, wishers, listen. I am so excited for this house. I know that there is great disappointment out there this year that Creature, Black Lagoon, that Gilman still hasn't gotten his moment. So I understand that. It was a big anniversary year. However, I'm really excited with this storytelling because Universal, this is theirs. Yeah. And since it belongs to them, their storytelling and their creative storytelling with the monsters is incredible. What we have seen since we started going, oh my gosh, it's always one of our favorites, if not our favorite house. So I'm really excited. Plus, we have a new character, that's tied to the Van Helsing family. And she is going to actually team up with Bride of Frankenstein, who is going to get her moment again. I love that. Bride is near and dear to my heart. And we're going to get Dracula's daughter. We're going to get She-Wolf. And then I'm going to try to say the name right. And if I screw this up, that's how it is. But it is the mummy princess of Ankh-Su Namen. I think that's right.
Close enough.
Okay, good. But what's going to happen is there's just going to be this battle in between these women, and Saskia is going to pair up with the bride, and they are going to go after Dracula's daughter and the other two. And I fully intend there's going to be this intense battle that it is just going to be high energy. A couple of years ago, when Universal Monsters did Legends Collide with the Mummy, Dracula, and Wolfman, that was high energy, and I feel like it's that same kind of feel and story. And man, that was high energy, and that was really an aggressive house. And this time is just going to be an all-female version of that kind of thing with a couple extra characters. So I'm really looking forward to see what Universal has done with this and the creatives of HHN.
Oh, absolutely. The excitement's so high for this one. I think, you talk about Legends Collide. One of the unique things of that house was the ending could be different.
Yes.
You had a different victor, whether it was the Wolfman or it was Dracula, or it was the Mummy. So you really weren't sure who was going to be the last one standing, if you will. And you kind of wonder, are we going to have that vibe with this house? Do we have, Bride of Frankenstein? Do we have Saskia? Do we have She-Wolf? We don't know what that's going to be like. The other thing I think is exciting about it is one of our very first houses that we ever experienced at Halloween Horror Nights was the Bride of Frankenstein, right?
Yeah.
And that house we loved. Now, it was very different back then because that was the first Halloween Horror Nights after the pandemic. So there was lots of restrictions. There were plexiglass all through the house. The scare actors wore the masks on it there. For everyone's safety, I have no problem with that. But it was still an amazing house, I thought. And these houses from the Universal Classic Monsters are so good. They're just so good. I am so excited about it. And like you said, then you bring in this storytelling and this new character of Saskia Van Helsing. It's exciting. It's very, very exciting, and very much looking forward to this one.
Oh, I am too. And you brought up about the ending as well. So it's going to be interesting to see if it's different every night, but it gives it that go through ability. Did I just make that up? But you know what I'm saying.
Close enough.
Close enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. So that's it for our IPs. We have some original houses that HHN has put together for us. And do you want to start us off with what the originals are going to be?
I will. And I will say a couple things about them first. Number one, the great thing about the originals is Universal Creative is free to do what they want. When you bring a property like Ghostbusters or Insidious, they're kind of locked in. They have to work on the creators of those films. They're going to be bringing scenes from that, which is great. Because if you're fans of the movies, you get to relive that. You get to be a part of it.
Yes.
But when it comes to the originals, they can do whatever they want.
Game
All bets
on.
are off. Oh, man, it is so exciting to see what they do with it.
And they usually hit it on the nose.
Man, they do. They do. So we're going to dig into that there. And I got to say, you did a great job pronouncing the mummies. So that was really good there. But I also noticed how I got the one that I really am going to have fun with because I don't speak Spanish. But we're going to get into it anyway.
So that's why I let you have it. So.
All right. So I'm sorry for everyone who speaks Spanish. I know I am mispronouncing this. Please be patient. Forgive me for that. But we're going to just fake it till we make it. Do the best we can.
That's pretty much it.
So we're going to get into it. We have 6 of these original houses there. And the very first house that we're going to talk about is Monstrous. The Monsters of Latin America. Tres monsters, uno pesadilla. Ten cuidado. With La Muerte as your guide, try to survive the night with 3 terrifying legends. Tejelopuchi, La Lechuza, and El Sobón.
I think that was pretty good. I don't speak Spanish, but that sounded impressive.
Yeah, I think if you don't speak Spanish, it's going to sound on point.
Yeah, so
if you don't speak Spanish. But hey,
we apologize to anybody who speaks Spanish and cringing right now.
That's all right there.
Be gracious.
While the pronunciation may not have been great, the house will be.
Yes.
That we know about.
I'm sure.
We already kind of know what to expect in this house. This is a house that was in Hollywood's version of Halloween Horror Nights last year. So we've actually seen people we know, other vloggers that have gone through the house. We've seen scenes from it. And what we realize is they're bringing those 3 monsters to life. And really, you look at those monsters, the best way to describe them is like humanoid birds, creatures, monsters, scary humanoid birds. Yeah, going to be your favorite because I know how much you love birds. Yeah. This house got rave reviews, right? So everyone that went through it, we talked about this as one of the most popular houses. It was considered one of the best one that just, what we saw in the clips is it's dark. It's gritty. The horror kind of is definitely coming through all of that. So It's going to be good. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
Right.
You know, I don't expect Orlando's version to do the exact same thing. I mean, the creatures are the same. We know that. But there'll be different takes on it. But certainly it should be a good one. If it was good in Hollywood, you know, you really think the expectations would be high that this one would be good as well.
Yeah. So as you know, and as you have said, I'm very nervous about this house. I don't know how often I'm going to go through it. But I think what a lot of what you said, it's going to be slightly different here in Orlando because it's set up different than what it was in Hollywood last year. So, but I do expect we're still going to get that gore and a lot of comment. Oh gosh, I am. It makes me nervous. I hope my tummy doesn't start making noises because it's that one makes me nervous. But I think what also bothers me about this house is its folklore and its fairy tales that Latin American children grew up with. And
Sleep well, children.
Sleep well, children is all I can think about this house as well. So listen, it is going to be incredible looking, but it's going to be a lot.
Okay, let's move on away from the birds and
away from the birds.
Let's get on to something else. What's next?
Actually, we are going to be talking about a fan favorite return. So not even from Hollywood, but from Orlando. We are going to have a follow-up to Slaughter Cinema with Slaughter Cinema 2. So get ready for the final cut. It's time for another horror movie marathon at the Cary Drive-In. Scream through scenes from creature features, grindhouse gore, and more. So, when Slaughter Cinema came out the first time, we had not been to the event yet, but we have heard nothing but great things about it, and it still continues to be talked highly about from a lot of people we've talked to, a lot of videos we watched when we had researched Halloween Horror Nights before we started going. We have heard just nothing but great things. So there was a lot of excitement built when this was the very first house that was announced this year, in a surprise announcement at Spooky Empire this spring. So on that, they also brought out a character that you would see in there, and I believe that room is going to be it's Heavy Metal Hell 3D, and there's a lot of the punk rock art and graphic that's out there, and this is exactly what that character looked like. Skull, spiked mohawk, that kind of thing. And we do know there's going to be 8 rooms in here, which gives us 8 different movies. So it's going to be more of an anthology. So it's like a drive-in. It's just like you're going to get bits and pieces of different things. So that was one of them. We do know that we are going to get a Christmas room. And we are going to get a Mardi Gras room. And these are all supposed to be like B horror movies. So I see this a little bit campy and fun, but I'm really excited to see what comes out of this in the future because scare zones and haunted houses have appeared since that Slaughter Cinema appeared the first time that have created new stories that have just kind of carried on. And Cary, Ohio, speaking of that, is tied to Laura Sauls.
One of the creators.
One of the creatives. Yeah. And so if you hear anything about Cary, Ohio, you know anything that happens there in Cary, Ohio, or coming out of Cary, Ohio, doesn't bode well in the lore of Halloween Horror Nights. So this is going to be a really interesting house, especially within the lore.
I'm sure Cary, Ohio is a really pleasant town. I don't want to live there.
No, I don't either.
No. As a Halloween Horror Nights fan, I'm sorry, that's just not on my list anymore.
No, anymore.
I think it's, it will be a lot of fun. There's a lot of excitement again as it's a returning property. And what they kind of did is they looked at this house the first time and rooms that really connected with people, that people loved, they turned into scare zones, other houses. So you're kind of thinking this might be the same thing. It's a little different because, like you said, it's an anthology where most of these haunted houses are a continuous story. Or, if it's an IP, maybe you're making your way through the movie. If it's an original, again, it's all kind of building something else. But each of these rooms is going to be like a mini haunted house.
Yes.
They're not really connected. It's just like if you were going to the drive-in movie and you were watching a double feature, right? You have 2 movies, they're not the same movie. It's just, 2 different movies. So The idea behind it should be fun. It gives a lot of variety,
Yeah.
make it very interesting, a lot of potential on it. But certainly we've heard great things about the first one, so I have no doubt this one should be good and fun as well.
I think so too. So what else we got?
All right, so this next original house is kind of go in a different direction, where Slaughter Cinema 2 is, I think it'll be fun, right? It's kind of get the idea of, it'll be scares, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They're all going to have scares, but a little fun. This one, I think, if it's as I imagine it, is going to get darker. And when I heard this house being announced, I was so excited. I'm like, this was just jumped my hype list really early on because I'm like, I could see such potential for it. So the next original that we're going to talk about is the museum, Deadly Exhibits. This relic will leave you in ruins. A folklore museum's newest exhibit, the Rotting Stone, has released an evil spirit that decays everything, and it's coming for you. So the idea behind this house is a museum, right? And you know how museums will have like featured exhibits that they may only be there for a short time, and apparently this was something called the Rotting Stone. I'm not sure that's an exhibit that I would want to feature, but okay, that's the case for this one here. But it basically is coming to life, and it just starts decaying the other exhibits and bringing them to life. And you know what I kind of imagined with this whole thing is, think about going to a museum with all the different artifacts and statues and figures there. And we've often wondered what happens if they came to life. You know, I think about Night at the Museum.
Absolutely.
There's a couple movies on that, and that was a lot of fun. It was a comedy. Now think about that as a horror. Like I'm imagining like going through this house and you're going to see all these different exhibits, and the challenge is going to be is what's fake and what's real, right? What mummy figure over there is going to come out at you? You know, what thing's going to drop and make a noise or burst up at you? You know, what statue's going to come to life? I mean, you just don't know. And you know, it talks about that whole decaying. I mean, things are going to be dark, but it's going to have some of those smells we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Universal likes to pump in those smells, even if they're not pleasant smells
if they're not pleasant
at all. No. So I just think that the potential for the house is so high because, just think about what you could do. Again, the scare factor, the creep factor to me is really high with this house, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I kind of see it set up. If you have ever been to Sahara Traders, the gift shop at the end of The Mummy, I kind of see that kind of feel with this house, but of course with this exhibit of the Rotting Stone and with the decay we talked about, I would imagine there's going to be a smell that's going to go throughout. Consider the word decay is in there, and the creatives do really like to bring in those senses, however that looks. And I do imagine there's going to be some kind of mummy kind of thing, especially since they have a Revenge of the Mummy ride there that is under their property. And also with Universal Monsters as it is, I do expect to see something like that, nice Egyptian kind of thing like we do see in Sahara Traders in the gift shop. But I'm also imagining maybe some armor like in a corner coming to life somehow, or gosh, there could be hands, or there could be movie. Oh my gosh. Really, it's near limitless on what could end up happening for what this Rotting Stone takes over. So, it's going to be something.
That's got the fear factor cranking on that.
It does. It does.
Yeah. All right.
So, hopefully, unlike the decaying smell and the smells that are pumped in, I think this next house that I want to talk about is going to be very different, but still in a horror sense. And in a sense, we're bringing back another fan favorite from a couple years ago, but from a scare zone. We're going to be talking about Major Sweets Candy Factory. According to Universal, they've got a killer sweet tooth. You're chaperoning a field trip to a candy factory when the free samples transform the kids into candy-coated killers. That sounds fun.
Sounds fun.
Sounds fun. So,
trick or treat.
Right. So a couple of years ago for HHN33 in one of the scare zones, there was Sweet Revenge, which was the Major Sweets. And it takes place in the 50s. And it was after or during a Halloween parade and festival. And Major Sweets has a grudge on the town, and so he gets back at the town by basically poisoning the candy and giving it to the children for free, and it turns them into killers, and just adorable little killers that we're chasing.
Adorable.
Totally adorable.
Adorable.
What we are finding is that was set in 1954, and what's going to happen is this house is going to be a prequel, but like by 3 days is kind of the feel on that. So I don't know who takes kids at any given time to a candy factory 3 days before Halloween, but here we are, and we're going to go through, and we know there's going to be kids. We know it's going to smell really sweet. We do know that. It's got to.
But will it, though? It's a factory.
So they're going to pump in some of those. So we're going to see. I'm pretty sure it's going to be at least somewhere.
Yeah.
But we know these kids are going to come out and jump at you as little cute killers.
Killers.
But we're going to have Major Sweets in there, and his cohort, Miss Treats, is going to be in there because we saw her a couple years ago. But we're also going to get a new character named Taffy, who is going to be kind of like the minion.
He's the enforcer.
Like the henchman.
Yeah, the henchman. That's a good one there.
And
he does the dirty work.
He does do the dirty work, and he's trying to keep the kids gathered together. So this is going to be really interesting watching a fan favorite character make a comeback, but in a house.
Yeah. You gotta love the names, first of all. Major Sweets, Miss Treats,
I love
Taffy.
it. I love it.
All right, nice job on all of that. You know, I got really excited when I first heard that this was going to be a house because the first thing that popped in my head was like Willy Wonka gone wrong. Like, I think about the Willy Wonka movie, especially the original, Gene Wilder. Yes, I know, I'm old for that. But I love when they go into the chocolate room, right? And they sing Pure Imagination. It's great. And you got all this, the color everywhere and the candies of it. And I'm thinking like, what if you had that, but it went wrong? And I know that somewhere in Europe they did some Willy Wonka thing like this.
That would be a house all by itself.
That was a disaster, but it was like, not this kind of a disaster here. So, I kind of had that in my mind at first. And I think about the scare zone, right? And you think about the kids walking around, they had masks, and they had like spiked bats and all kinds of things. So, this is one of those houses that, I think it's just going to be fun. It's going to be kind of campy, But at the same time, you think, well, it's just kids. It's not that scary. Oh, if you've been to Halloween Horror Nights, the kids are the ones you better watch out for.
If there's kids involved,
they're
gonna get
They're creepy.
you.
They're creepy. They are.
They're gonna get you.
So yeah, this should be fun. I'm also really hopeful this can break the cycle because we're pretty sure this is going to be in what is currently the Fast and the Furious attraction building. We've had houses there before. They've not been the best houses. No. The layout's been a little weird. But this year, they've changed it up. They actually closed the ride down for the duration of the event of Halloween Horror Nights. So I'm really hopeful that this is going to redeem that location, and this is going to be a great house.
Another thing, too, to point out is the last two houses that didn't go quite as well there were IP houses, and this one is an original. So I'm hoping they can work their creativity in with that, too.
Yeah, they can run with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what else have we got?
All right, we're getting down to the list there. We got two more. So we're going to bring it to the next to last one here. And this next house is one that I think about. This is going to be our true Halloween house, right? When you think about Halloween and the traditional kind of imagery that comes to mind, that's going to be this next house because this one is called Goblin's Feast. They'll feast on your flesh. Enter a goblin village where a feast is being prepared for goblins, orcs, hobgoblins, and witches, and you're the main course. So right off the top, there we go. You think about goblins and ogres and hobgoblins and witches, right? I mean, how Halloween?
I know!
Halloween. So we get that idea about it. But the story, when we listen to the podcast behind it, is essentially there was this war between the creatures, these fantastical creatures, and human beings. And I hate to tell you this, but the creatures won. So now every year they have this big celebration, this big feast to celebrate their victory. And they celebrate by feasting on, you guessed it, we not you and I. But
no, definitely not you and I.
No, human beings.
Hopefully not you either, but maybe.
Yeah, we'll see about that. So that's the whole idea behind it. So that was a great feast. So again, I think this is the house that's going to bring that traditional Halloween feel into it and the imagery. You know, you're kind of bringing some of that fantastical stuff. Like last year we had Dueling Dragons. That kind of aesthetic was really beautiful. But then you're pairing that with traditional Halloween themes and images and coming together. So I kind of go back and forth. Is this going to be really campy? Or is this going to be darker? I'm not really sure. Maybe a little bit of both of it. But yeah, I think this will be good. I expect to sell at house. All the houses are always good, but this is going to bring that true Halloween stuff to life, I think.
I agree. We talked about the fantastical part of like Dueling Dragons, which was a fan favorite if you were into that nostalgia, but it was a beautiful house. I do think this is going to be a beautiful house with the fantastical pieces to that, much like Dueling Dragons. But with the witches involved and some of these characters in that true traditional house, I think about Wicked Growth that came in
Great
couple of years ago. So I really like seeing some of these come together. I do think it's going to be dark and dank kind of in there. I don't know what any smells are going to look like. I think it's going to be a little darker, but I haven't decided, is it going to be campy or is it going to be more gory? But, you know, another house that kind of comes to mind was from last year was Blood Moon Dark Offerings, where you went through the town and it was really gory, but off the harvest time kind of thing. So I really think it sounds like they're taking pieces of this, but I think it's going to be at least beautiful. It will be a beautiful house.
I agree.
No matter which way it ends up going.
Yeah,
so
absolutely agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have one original left to talk about.
One more original. And this one is Triplets of Terror. The party's over, and so are you. You're invited to the Barney Triplets party celebration, but their kind of party involves recreating the murders of their entire family.
Happy birthday.
Right, happy birthday. So when this was announced, didn't know how to feel about it. And I think it's kind of polarizing in thought process right now as it is. So when the other houses have been announced and before the IPs were even done, because out of a surprise, all the originals were actually dropped first, one day after the other. It was pretty wild. But by the end of everything, we started realizing there's no slasher house. And usually there's an IP slasher house at least. And there wasn't one. So we heard rumors that this was supposed to be a slasher house anyway, possibly an IP. Not going to get into what that rumor was, but the fact that it was supposed to be a slasher one sounds like it fell through. They made their own slasher house. They've taken quite the story with this, with the triplets, so with these siblings. So what we get is they've killed their family, but then every few years or every year
every 10 years
every 10 years is kind of from what we understand. They celebrate the anniversary of their birthday in this way by recreating how they killed their family.
Think Hallmark has a card for that?
Absolutely not. Okay. So we're going to be walking through several things, but they've already killed their family. So how are they recreating that? Oh. So watch out when you go in there. That's all I'm saying. And all I know is I got an unsettling feeling from it. And I really think it could be really dark. But this one could also be really campy. We know really very little about this. Yeah. I'm really interested to see what happens with this one, honestly. I'm kind of hoping it's the slasher part that leans to the unsettling part.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. You know, when I first heard it announced, like the first thing that popped in my head was Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, yeah.
Which obviously that's a slasher, right? That fits in that. You think about Friday the 13th, Halloween, those are slasher movies that you have.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing that popped in my head. Obviously, it's going to be an original. So how they spin that, how they take it, that's going to be really unique. That's one of the great challenges with any of these original houses is we have nothing to base them on. With the IPs, you can watch the movie. You'll have a pretty good idea of what you're going to experience in the house. But originals, and every year they seem to surprise us with these originals, whether we think it's good or it's going to be bad. You just what you're going to expect. They've always got something extra in those houses for us. And so, this one, obviously just the storyline itself is dark, right? They killed their family on their birthday. That's a weird way. I mean, I get it. You didn't get what you wanted for your birthday, but let's not overreact to things, But then you're going to be celebrating that thing, every 10 years and be, recreating that. I don't know. Again, but if it's going to be a slasher, I think that's what you're going to experience, right? Those houses all tend to have a similar kind of vibe. I think this will have that vibe on it. And we'll have to wait and see, how good of a house it is there, but certainly it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they have in store for that. Yeah. So guess what? That is all 10 houses. Thanks for sticking around for that. Woo! There was a whole lot going on there, but guess what? We're not done. But wait!
There's more!
Stick around here for just a moment, and we are going to go through our own individual hype lists on how we are rating these houses even before it starts, and then we'll have a follow-up later in the season, of course, but just kind of from what we've heard, let's share our hype list with the wishers.
Yeah, we've not collaborated on this.
No, we have not.
So you've got your list, I've got my list, and I would just say that the great thing about these lists are you go into Halloween Horror Nights kind of with this in your mind, right? And we have that hype. And I think about last year, one of the houses that was at the very bottom of our hype list was the Darkest Deal. That ended up being our favorite house.
Yes.
So things can...
Well, I died 3 different times. So.
You did.
I did.
That's one of the things that made it so great.
Thanks.
No offense.
Great.
I'm glad you're still here. But
Thanks.
You did.
Okay.
Your soul left your body in that house.
Yeah.
It was a great house. But that's the thing about it. Like, so you go into the season, you go into the event thinking one thing, but I can guarantee, even though we're going to share with you what we're expecting, I am confident it will not stay in this order there, that things will change up once you get in and start experiencing. And we also know that, look, everybody has their preferences. You do, I do. That's why we have our different lists. All of you out there watching, you've got your preferences on it. These are just ours. Kind of, we have our reasons for picking it, but we're going to kind of share how we're looking at it. I also will say this. They're all going to be good.
They're all going to be good, no matter
Even
what.
the bad houses are good.
Guess what? Because you're still at Halloween Horror Nights.
Oh, and it's a great place to be.
Should we get ready for our hype list?
All right, let's get the list. Let's get going.
All right, here we go. Okay, wishers, we have come to the point where we are going to share our house hype lists. So, just as a reminder, we haven't discussed this at all. We haven't collaborated.
Nope.
We did discuss our hype list about a month ago, right after everything had been announced. And our lists were very different then, too. And we knew that probably after hearing and kind of thinking and processing that we might change those lists a little bit. So,
oh, yeah, my list will probably change between now and the event starting. 3 times, at least.
Listen, right now it's in the moment. This is where we are at, and that's how it's going to be.
That's it.
So this is going to be before the event starts, of course. So, so I have a thought, because what we're going to do is we're going to share 5 at a time. So it's not so tedious going back and forth, if that's okay. So if we share our bottom 5 first, and then our top 5, okay? All right. So in order to pick who goes first, I think we need to do rock, paper, scissors. Winner goes first.
Winner goes first.
Okay, so it's
enough.
going to be, do we want to do 1, 2, 3, shoot, or rock, paper, scissors, shoot?
Let's go 1, 2, 3, shoot.
1, 2, 3, shoot. Okay,
1, 2, 3,
here
shoot.
we go. Here we go. Let's find out who goes first. Ready?
Right, here we go.
1, 2, 3, shoot. Oh, well, that didn't take long.
I win.
Okay.
All right.
All right. You go first. Start with your 10, and why don't you work up to 6,
so
okay?
We'll do the bottom 5 there on it, and like you said, these can change. They may change in the moment. I may regret it right after I share it. Also, we said this when we were talking about the houses. None of the houses are bad. Like,
no,
I know the houses will be good. This is just for our own personal reasons, and we'll share. Like, we're not gonna break down every little house, but maybe
because we did that earlier.
A couple of notes of why maybe we put the houses where they're at, in the list. to break it down and get that idea of it. But these are just ours, what we're feeling the moment.
Yeah.
Yours may be very different. I know as we've seen some stuff online, it's all over the place.
All over.
This is just one of those years where there's no like clear ranking as we go into the event. But we'll see what it's like when we come out of the event.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I'm going to start my list off with my number 10, which I feel really bad about my number 10. Because my number 10 is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Oh.
I know. Like, I love Ghostbusters, right? So the original Ghostbusters movies, I'm huge fans of those. Big fans of those. I love the movies on it. We have not seen Frozen Empire, but we saw the other one, Afterlife.
Yes, we did see Afterlife.
And I thought it was cute. I thought it brought a lot of great nostalgia on it there. But again, for me, Halloween Horror Nights, right? And this is going to be a little fun campus. So I got it as my number 10. I'm so excited about it. It's going to be beautiful. My number 9 is Monstrous. I think maybe just because, we've seen that, so we kind of got an idea of where that one's coming from. My number 8 is Triplets of Terror.
Oh.
And this one has bounced. This has been in my top 3, and it's been in my bottom 3, right? So, and again, part of it, look, it's a slasher. It's going to be good. I think it'll be higher by the time the event's over, but we're at that. It's where it's at right now in this moment, in this second here. Number 7 is one that's dropped on my list a lot, and that's Major Sweet's Candy Factory.
Oh.
And it's just kind of a thing where, again, had the evil Willy Wonka in my mind at first. Then I listened to podcasts, and I'm a little unsure of how this one's going to play out. So I've got it down at my number 7. And then coming in at number 6, right in the middle of the pack, is Goblin's Feast.
Oh.
And I used to have this one a little lower, but this is Halloween, right? This is the true Halloween house. And so I feel like it should be right there in the middle of the pack. So that's my number 6. There's my bottom 5.
Okay.
All right, what you got?
So here's what I've got, which is kind of funny. Our 9 and 10 are actually flipped. So,
okay.
So my number 10 is Monstrous.
It's the bird thing.
It's the bird thing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Listen, I don't do birds. Oh my gosh.
You want to go in front in this house?
No, my anxiety is rising for this one, and I'm sure it's going to be great. And that's going to be the pure horror. But this is my personal thing, and I don't know how many times I can even possibly go through it. I will at least once. That could be a one and done. But for a lot of the reasons you said, my number 9 is Ghostbusters. And I don't really see that as horror. I mean, there can be scary elements to it, but and that's how it's always been. I can't get that much higher just due to the nature of the overall event, and that's how that works. So my number 8 may draw some hate, and that's okay. I don't care. Because you might feel the same way, some don't. And that's going to be Insidious the Further. Probably for the reasons is I don't know how I'm going to react to some of these things. And I don't do necessarily well with unsettling things. And actually last year's Blumhouse house was Exorcist Believer, and I did not do well in that one the few times we went through.
It was good though. It was creepy and gory, but
So, and I kind of imagine a little bit of that with Insidious the Further. So I'm looking forward to going through it, but I'm not looking forward to going through it. But that's how that goes.
I get you. No, I can see how that's a polarizing one for you.
Yes.
Because that one's going to be dark, for sure. Yeah.
And then my number 7 is the other big IP, Quiet Place. I don't know how quiet I can be, and I think we might die, and I apologize. I am very interested to see how this experiment goes. Right. I really, really am. And it is going to be big and lovely. And I'm really excited to see the ASL being used in there. But I'm not good about being quiet in those things. I've got to know not to say anything to any of the scare actors in there because that's how that goes. So that's my 7. And then, interestingly enough, number 6 is Goblin's Feast.
Hey,
so
okay.
we matched up on number 6.
All right.
So, but for the same reasons. And listen, this can go anywhere in that mid-range for me, 4, 5, 6, whatever. And I am looking forward to the house. The podcast made me a little iffy on it to see how it does.
Yeah.
I want it to be a little bit more on the gorier side. The podcast was so cute. Like I feel weird saying that. So if you listen to it, you tell us what you feel about that podcast if you listen to it. So let us know in the comments what you think about that. But that's kind of where I landed with that. So that's my bottom 5. So tag your
right.
top 5.
Top 5.
Here we go.
All right, here we go on that one. So again, kind of right in there where you were at, just a little higher on that, is A Quiet Place. That's my number 5. This has been all over my rankings there, but part of it is it's so new and different. I'm hyped because I want to see how they pull it off.
Yeah.
I want to see how they do it, right? And there's so many elements we just don't know, we've never had. This is brand new. So, like, while I'm not sure it's going to be good, like, I'm hyped for it because I want to see how they do it.
Yeah.
I just want to see how they do it. So that's my number 5. My number 4, again, I've had much higher, but these are also interchangeable. Number 4 is the Museum Deadly Exhibits. Again, I think this has so much potential. It'd be so great, so creepy, so dark. I got nothing bad to say about it, other than maybe it stinks because of the decay. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see about that one there. But that's my number 4. My number 3 is Insidious: The Further. So I know you have it way down yours for the exact same reasons I have it high on mine.
I'm not surprised at all.
I was partially sold on the announcement video that they put out with them. Like, oh, that's there. Again, just from what I've heard, what I've seen, there is potential for this to be really, really good. I mean, the scares, to have you on the edge of your seat, I just think the potential is there for this one. So I've got it ranked up there really high, number 3. Number 2 on my list, I have Slaughter Cinema 2, fittingly enough.
Okay.
I've wrestled with it because I don't think this is going to be a super scary house, but I think it's going to be a ton of fun. I know that they're going to have like Mardi Gras and a Christmas room, and I think those are going to be great. Part of my rankings based on everyone else's hype. People that knew that house have it so hyped up there, so I've got it high on my list for the same exact reasons. So I'm excited what they bring to it. And of course, for my number 1, that leaves the only one left, and that is Universal Monsters: Eternal Bloodlines. Like, look, I think number 1, it's the Universal Monsters house. They are always good. Yeah. It is their property. Like, this is the reason Universal Studios exists, is the classic Universal Monsters. And those houses are so good every single year. The sets are wonderful. The scares are great with it. I've never been disappointed in a Universal Monsters house. So this one I think will be right there. I mentioned it during the description. We got the bride returning. And I'm so happy for her because that was a little unfair, the whole pandemic thing. Gets to be featured again, so those characters, I'm excited about that. The storyline, this new Van Helsing character, Saskia. Yeah, I just how can I not be excited about the Universal Monsters house? So there's my top 5.
Okay.
All right.
This is going to be really interesting because we have more matches than you might realize. So I was actually really surprised hearing this.
How it works out sometimes.
Right? That was very interesting because actually my number 5 is Major Sweets. I just middle of the pack. I'm looking forward to him coming back. I think what did it in for me, again, the podcast can either really help the story or really hurt the story because sometimes there's inconsistencies that don't match up. And I'm big on storytelling and continuity. I'm really, really big on that. And when the podcast started and they said it was taking place 3 days before Halloween, but it was 1955. So I don't know how we time traveled like that.
Don't try to make sense of it.
1954 was the scare zone from 2 years ago. So I can't let that one go. I just can't.
No, I know you can't. Apparently.
But I am looking forward to the house. I really want this one to be good. I want this one to move up in my rankings because of where it's at. So that's my number 5. My number 4 is Museum Deadly Exhibit. And for a lot of the reasons that you said. And like I said, my 4, 5, 6, that is interchangeable right now. That's kind of hard. Tomorrow, even tonight, I could change my mind on that. Yeah. So, but that's
Same.
where I'm at right now, but for much of the same. My number 3 is Triplets of Terror. Number 1, it's 3. So that just seemed fitting.
Fair.
But I am looking forward to what they do with this, with the slasher and the family thing. Again, I don't do well with unsettling kind of things, but I do think this one could be surprisingly unsettling, but maybe in the best way possible. And that's kind of my hope for it. So I'm kind of looking forward to see what happens with that one.
Fair enough.
So my number 2, appropriately enough, Slaughter Cinema 2. So, and that, funny enough, that's just kind of how it fell. So,
Yeah.
Same reasons that you said. And a lot of it has the hype that we have heard before. So, I don't want to I always say, hopes high, expectations low. So, I have high hopes for it, but I'm going to try to keep my expectations a little bit lower, just knowing what the hype was and hoping people didn't misremember what was going on.
Sequels, at least in the movies, tend to not play out nearly as well. So,
but considering this is about movies, so I am excited to see what they do with it. So that is my number 2, especially with the hype that comes around it. And my number 1, if you have figured it out, same as yours, Universal Monsters, Eternal Bloodlines.
Yeah.
Yo, I am really excited for this all-female cast. And I just want them to bring it. And I want Universal to do them right, because I felt like Bride of Frankenstein was done a little bit dirty when we went in, as beautiful as the house was, because they tried to do it twice. And then people got real down on it because they tried to give it a real light kind of thing. And then they re-released it the next year to try, and it was still with restrictions.
Just a little history there.
So, but it was a beautiful house, and I wanted to help her at that point. I did.
It was still a great house.
It was a great house. So I'm excited for her to be able to get a moment out there as well. And I'm looking forward to Saskia. I want to see her personality traits and how it comes through, and how the Helsing bloodline just kind of takes her over and really helps out with this whole thing. But the all-female driven cast, Universal Monsters, bread and butter of Universal.
That's it.
I'm really excited for it. So that's our hype list. So I want to know, are you going to HHN at any point this year? Let us know that in the comments. And if you are, let us know your hype list. And even if you're not, say hi, and you can give us your own hype list based on what we have said too. Or if you look it up on Universal's website under Halloween Horror Nights, give it a look, and let us know that if you were going, what your hype list would look like. Because I am so interested to hear where everybody is at in this. No arguing. This is...
Yeah, we all have different perspectives on it, even though our lists were like way closer than we expected them to be.
I am surprised.
Out there. So yeah, we all have our different preferences. So like, why are you drawn to the houses you're drawn to? You know, maybe that's it. Maybe you don't feel like doing a hype list. But you just say like, I would love to be able to go through this house or those 2 houses. And
this one sounds amazing, or no thank you on that
love to hear that. We just love the whole vibe and the community and the conversation around it, because we love Halloween Horror Nights. And so anytime there's a chance to hear and talk about Halloween Horror Nights, we're there.
Absolutely. So it's happening this week. We're going to be able to breathe in some fog. I have been so excited for this. So if you are going to be there, let us know. I hope to see you all in the fog. If you see us, say hi. I'm really excited to say hi to you. So that's what we've got for you, wishers, and we'll see you in the fog. Yes?
Yes.
Aw, wish you were here.
Bye.